And then by the end of the war, it tipped to nuclear power. But I mean, I guess the war was settled based upon sea power and air power in Europe, but it was settled, for once and for all based on nuclear power.
Right.
And so you're fighting those wars, you're thinking about sea power, about air power, then, the next 50 years, it's a lot of skirmishing around nuclear power and how you'll deliver that. And Star Wars was, an anti-ballistic missile defense system. And then you had nuclear subs and you had nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. And there was a lot of that. But now we get into the 21st century, and it's becoming increasingly clear that in the 21st century, the wars will be determined by drones in the air, drones on the land, and drones in the water. So I take one of those robot dogs and I put a gun or a bomb on it, and it's cute when it's barky. It's scary when there's one gun and you see the video where you see that the robot dog can shoot a target from 100 meters away. And then it's horrifying when you see 10,000 of those robot dogs getting manufactured in a manufacturing center, and they're spitting out 1,000 a week and as many as you want, right? And then you start thinking about, well, what am I going to do when one of those robot dogs comes sashaying down the strip in my restaurant with a gun and a bomb? And then you think, what am I going to do when there's 100 of them? And what am I going to do when there's 100,000 of them? And then you start thinking about, all the submarines and all the ships and the whatever. But, why wouldn't you just create an unmanned submarine and put a bomb in it, either conventional or nuclear? And you won't just create one. Why don't you create 100, 1,000, 100,000? Torpedoes that, have a range of thousands. You play this game, right? You can just put up 10,000 torpedoes with a range of 100 miles on a ship and just dump them in international waters. We now have GPS encircling the Earth. And if you've seen the Starlink satellite system, Starlink is now encirculating the Earth. You have high bandwidth internet and very, very precise GPS. So those drones can find their way to any spot, plus or minus 12 inches in the water. The robot dogs can find any spot on land. And then, of course, the air drones, it's like you think about the F-35 and you think about all this Air Force, but that's really the armament and munitions of the 20th century. The next war won't be fought with pilots, and it won't be, why would you create a $50 million aircraft that's limited to 9 Gs with the pilot that took 25 years to train and millions of dollars to train? Why wouldn't you actually just create 100,000 Switchblade drones that cost a couple $1,000s each?
Right.
Manufacture 10,000 of them. You have an army. I just spit out 500 of those or 1,000, and they just find every truck, every Humvee, every tank, every tent, every cluster of more than 10 people, because why would you bother to attack one person when you could get 100?
Creature, right?
It's a swarm.
Yeah.
And you just send the entire swarm, I've used the phrase, you remember? Bitcoin is a swarm of cyber hornets.
Yeah.
Okay, the most terrifying thing, right, is not one creature attacking you. It's not an army, it's not a navy, it's not an air force, it's not a fighter and a jet. The most terrifying thing is a swarm of bionic hornets. And it's pretty clear they're coming. And it's not, what do? You just put whatever munition or weapon of your choice on the thing. And what do you need? You just need to know where you are. But, the silicon for figuring that out is getting better, and you need some intelligence. Well, maybe you need Starlink, and right now in Ukraine, they're flying drones and fighting wars with Starlink. But it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear if you look at ChatGPT and if you look at where we're headed, they're going to download those AI models into silicon, and there'll be a point at which you'll just burn a custom ASIC. And instead of a custom ASIC for Bitcoin mining, which is a cyber defense system, you'll just burn a bunch of custom ASICs to think. And sometime over the next few years, we're crossing the chasm, if not already, where the brains in the drones will be smarter than the brains in the cockpit. It's not that hard to kill something, right? That like we're you look at Boston Dynamics and they're showing all these videos of robot workers in a factory, and like here's a robot that does backflips, and here's a robot that's going to like pick up packages and store them, and okay, now we want a robot to bake bread and clean our dishes and talk to us. That's hard, okay? But creating a robot that has 10,000 rounds and saying cross that line on the map and kill everything on the other side.
Scary.
That's not hard.